There's no battle quite like the one we are in right now. And I want you to understand this. This battle touches every area of your life, your relationships, your health, your passions, and even your purpose. This isn't a physical battle, something you can run away from or hide from. There is no bunker. There is no crawling space you can hide into where this effect of this fight won't find you. This isn't a battle that happens on some distant battlefield in history. It's happening right here, right now, in your life, in my life. It's called spiritual warfare. You may not even realize you are in the midst of it, but I assure you, if you're struggling in your marriage, dealing with issues at work, battling your emotions, or facing conflict in your family, you are in a war. And often we don't even recognize the real enemy. Sometimes we think the battle is with people, but the truth is people are just the battleground. People are just the conduit. The real fight is spiritual. Now, let me be clear. This battle isn't physical first. It's spiritual. And the sooner you and I recognize that, the sooner we'll stop throwing money and time as solutions that don't address the root cause of our problems. We can keep putting band-aids on our issues, spending money on counseling, on material things, on fixing the outward symptoms. But unless we deal with the spiritual forces at play, we will always find ourselves back in the same place. Let me put it clear. Spiritual warfare is a cosmic conflict in the invisible angelic realm, but it's playing out in the very visible physical world we live in. In Ephesians chapter 6 verse 12, Paul says this, "Our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against rulers, against powers, against the world forces of this darkness, against the spiritual forces of wickedness in the heavenly places." Let me break this down. Your enemy is not the person in front of you. Let me say it again. Your enemy is not the person in front of you. It's not the coworker who drives you crazy, or the spouse who hurts you, or the friend who betrays you. Paul says you've missed the point if you think the people are your problem. Why is this so important to understand? Because if we keep fighting the wrong battle, we'll miss the real issue. We'll keep thinking we need to change people when in reality, what we really need is to address the spiritual forces that are at work behind the scenes. People can only do what the spiritual forces are allowing them to do. And until we confront that, we'll never get to the root of the problem. The battle is real, but here is the good news. The battle is spiritual at its core. And if you understand the spiritual side of the battle, you can begin to change the physical effect in your life. But it takes a shift in how you see things. You've got to develop what I call a sixth sense, a spiritual sensitivity. I know you've got five senses, but this battle requires you to tap into something deeper. This isn't about reacting to what you can see and feel in the physical world. It is about understanding what's happening in the unseen, in the spiritual world. Think about it this way. Daniel 4:26 says this, that the heaven rules what happens on earth. In other words, everything that happens here has a spiritual origin. And unless you address the root cause in the spiritual realm, you will never truly fix the problem in the physical realm. Maybe you've been throwing money at the wrong solutions. Maybe you've been looking for the quick fix, a new job, a new relationship, a new vacation. But if you don't start with the spiritual causes, you will keep chasing your tail. Here's the big takeaway. What happens on earth is influenced by what's happening in heaven. And if you don't want to win this battle, if you want to win this battle, and if you want to experience true peace, because I know you want to win this battle, if you want to experience true peace, if you want to experience true victory, if you've got to start in the spiritual realm. Let me say it again. If you want true peace, if you want true victory, if you want true peace, you got to start in the spiritual realm. This is not just theory. This is practical. If you can learn how to operate from the spiritual realm, you will start seeing real change in your life. You will start seeing real change in your marriage. Think about it like this. Your blessings are in heavenly places. Ephesians chapter 1 verse 3 tells us that God has blessed us with every spiritual blessings in the heavenly places. So if your blessings are in heaven and you are fighting a battle here on earth, wouldn't it make sense to connect to the source of those blessings? Wouldn't it make sense for you to start with heaven, where everything you need is stored? And here's the reality. You already have access to heaven. Ephesians chapter 2 verse 6 says this, that God has raised us up with Christ and seated us with him in heavenly places. Did you catch that? You are not just here on earth struggling by yourself. Spiritually, you are seated with Christ in heavenly places. The problem is, we often forget where we are spiritually. The focus on what's happening in the physical realm and forget that our victory has already been secured in the spiritual realm. So how do we access this victory? How do we tap into these heavenly resources? The key is to change your worldview. There are two primary worldviews that people live by. The naturalistic worldview, which says that everything can be explained by science and reason. And the spiritual worldview, which acknowledges that there is more to reality than what we can see and touch. Sadly, many of us as Christians live as we've adopted a naturalistic worldview. Even though we say we believe in a spiritual reality, we act as though we can fix everything with our own reasoning and efforts. But the spiritual worldview says that God is at the center of all things, and we must look to him first. When we live by a spiritual worldview, we recognize that there are forces beyond what we can see. And these forces are affecting our lives. To wrap this up, I want you to understand this. I want you to understand this, and this is very crucial. The battle you are fighting is spiritual in nature. If you're fighting it with physical solution alone, you will be wasting your time and money. But when you start engaging with the spiritual realm, when you start recognizing that your blessings, your victories, and your help all come from heaven, you will begin to see the effect in your physical life. So what's the result of this message? Well, I hope it saves you some time and money. I hope it shifts your perspective so that you can stop relying on temporary physical fixes and start addressing the spiritual roots of your struggles. And I hope, most of all, it saves your relationships. And because when you stop focusing on people, when you stop thinking that people are the problem, and when you start addressing spiritual forces at work in your life, you will begin to see real change happening. Remember, the Father is in heavenly places. Your blessings are in heavenly places. Jesus is in heavenly places. And even you are seated with him, where? In heavenly places. So don't wait to tap into the resources you already have. The battle may be real, but the victory has already been won in the spiritual realm. Now, let's start living like we believe it. Let's start living like we won the victory already. So when you wake up in the morning, when you wake up in the morning, believe that God has already given you the victory. Say, God, this is a new day. I know I won the fights already. I know you gave me victory already. Victory over addiction, victory over issues in my family. Whatever victory that you need, you claim it because you have won that fight already. Jesus have won that fight for you already. Your blessings, they are in heavenly places. Your heavenly Father, He's in the heavenly places. You are seated in the heavenly places. And guess where the fight is happening? In the heavenly places. So if you keep using physical resources to fix a spiritual problem, it's like putting band-aids over a wound. Your solution is on your knees. Fight on your knees. Fight for your marriage. Fight for your friendship. Fight for your relationships. Fight for work. Fight on your knees. Don't fight a spiritual battle with physical weapons. It won't work. Don't stop wasting your money on solutions that just fix the surface, not the roots. The root cause of what you're going through is spiritual. And in the next video, we'll talk more about the spiritual warfare.